Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so, good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm feeling pretty good. The weed that I smoked yesterday didn't leave me feeling kind of funny this morning, so I'm able to make the content I expect to make. So, that is what's encouraging. I still got another strand to try. Wish me luck. So, this is where we're at in regards to the NBA. Last night there was 3 games played. I watched only a fraction of them, but I did kind of glance at stats and write ups and listen to some folks talking and stuff like that. So I was able to put two and two together and I could just comment on what I heard and saw. Um, so that's what I'm going to do for you. First of all, the Philly game, Joel Embiid got the win there, but was also able to get away with kicking Claxton. I didn't see the full play, but I did see the kick and the memes that are going around in regards to the kick. And the only thing that I can really say is the same thing that Jason Timpf just said as I was watching him. Where's the consistency? Now look, I don't come here saying that the referees have an easy job. I don't come here saying that every kick is work, is equal. I don't think Draymond Green stumping on Sabonis is as a is the same thing as what I saw Joel do to Claxton. But in the spirit of consistency, it would be nice to see Joel Embiid at least get ejected for the sake of consistency. Um, it would. It would be nice to see that. And I know there'd be a lot of Philly fans who wouldn't appreciate that. But again, Draymond just got kicked out of the game, suspended, and I get it. More than overstand this. History had a lot to do with that. Joel don't have a type of history. And there's a pecking order in this league, and Joel Embiid is the MVP this season, I think. Even though I picked Jokic at the beginning of the season. So this is one of them situations where it's like, I just want the NBA to have balance, as in provide the consistency we're looking for, and do what you're doing in regards to not making every single kick equal. So I don't know what it is that is a solution here, but we definitely, at the end of the day, don't want games determined by ejections and free throws and referees. So if we can find a sweet medium in making that the case, I think we'll be good. Also, we're seeing a lot of stuff that people are just not pleased with in terms of the officiating. A lot of inconsistencies. The Clippers Suns game, I didn't see too much of that, but everybody's talking about the officials in that game and how they didn't appreciate how the Clippers were officiated in that game, and it just goes on and on. And I just tell people, the same thing I always say about the officials: you got to pick your battles. You got to expect that they're going to do some malarkey. So be prepared to hit all your free throws when you're driving at the rim. Flailing your arms ain't going to work too much in these playoffs, I don't think. And they're looking for the guys who come down and look to flop. Certain types of flop, if you sell your the contact that's coming your way, you're doing your job. But if you run and jump in front of a guy and explode off of him, um, they're probably looking for you to do that. This is what I was saying to my Lakers in regards to Austin Reeves and some of our guys who do that. You gotta really be careful to give them nice long stretches of possessions where you don't look to flop off of people. Play defensive possessions all the way through. Pulse those into what it is that you do, so that you don't look like a flopper on every time down. Because what they end up doing is not calling it when you flop, and then you're out of position, and it turns into the worst of things in that possession. I've seen it too often, and I've seen other teams do it, and it's worked in our favor. So I think our team should be, our coaching staff and our scouts, just like we study players, should try our very best to keep a tendency count of what the referees are doing in regards to them calling fouls on players who are flopping. I think every coaching staff should have somebody on it keeping tabs of tendencies in regards to the officiating, because it really does make a huge difference in how you handle your strategy. If you got an official team that doesn't like contact very much and whistles everything, you probably want to adjust your scheme so that you're not doing things that require you to be too physical. If you know the team is going to swallow their whistle that night, maybe you can implement a more physical playing style that would allow you to take advantage of that. But those things need to be understood, because if you go in one way and they are officiating another way, the score gonna go the other way. And so that's something that is extremely important as these playoffs continue to progress for all teams. Golden State jumped back into the game and knocked off the Sacramento Kings at home without Draymond Green. 4 guard lineups were used in that series, and from what I understand, they went really, really well for the Golden State Warriors. The theme that I'm hearing in regards to Game 3s, both in Clipperland and as well as in Golden State Sac situation, all 4 of those teams are having success running small ball. Yeah, I know. Small ball is working for those teams. And it's the same thing I said about Memphis. It's the same thing I say about a lot of teams right now, since the league is so guard-oriented in regards to how GMs have generally put these teams together. Everybody's thinking about putting guards together. Everybody want to be Steph Curry and James Harden. Well, now you got to overload with guards on these teams. And in order to get the best players on the floor for a lot of these squads, you're going to have to run 4 guard lineups or 5 guard lineups because their best players are guards. They were scouting guards. They kind of didn't care too much about the center position at all. And wings are hard to find anyway. So most teams got a bunch of guards. And so 4 guard lineups are going to work in situations where you're going up against teams that have awkward bigs that can't guard, perimeter and stuff like that. You could put the small ball lineup out there and find ways of spreading the floor out and creating opportunities to shoot the ball and all these different things that can be taken advantage of when you have high-level guards like obviously Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, or what the Clippers have down there in EG and Norman Powell and everybody that they got on the team that's at the guard position. It just is easier for these coaches to put guards on the floor and get the most out of their team. So that's what I'm understanding. Like, there is a place for small ball. I just happen to loathe it. And it hasn't worked when my team does it because we don't necessarily find ourselves being constructed in a way that allows us to have our best stuff be guards. And see, that's the key to it all. Are your best players guards? Then you probably would benefit from having small ball lineups. If your best players are forwards and centers, then your small ball lineups don't really make much sense, do they? And that's the problem with the Lakers. AD and Bron aren't guards. I mean, Bron could be considered a guard, but he's definitely not a guard in this league. So it's like us going small ball is going to essentially remove those guys from the floor, which doesn't make us better. So I just want to put that out there. There is a flow to my understanding in regards to basketball, and there are preferences. And like I told everybody who watches me, if something works, I'm not going to complain. I may not like how it looks, but I'm not going to complain. There were times when we ran offensive that I couldn't stand, and we won a championship. Stuff that wasn't good to watch. Guys jacking up 35 shots in one game, missing all of them. But we found a way to win. You're happy with the outcome, but the game was boring, or the game wasn't fun. And then you have situations where your playing style is good, but you can't get off the ground. Your team sucks. You just play really fast and have a good style. So all of these things make for a lot to consider when you're talking about what makes sense to put on a basketball floor. There's no right way. Something that you think doesn't work can work. Something that you think looks terrible on paper, a guy come out and just brick all the shots against you and make what you're putting down on there look successful. Even though if you run it twice, it will never work. But because they're so cold, it just works out. And you might be confused thinking that what you should do should be done again. This is what basketball is about. There's a million ways to do what you need to do. There's a lot of complicated ways, it's intelligent ways created by, super scientists. And then there's people like me that just say, get people in foul trouble and it blows up everything they're doing. At the end of the day, there's no one way to play the game, and that's why I love it so much. It's a science that's ever evolving. And every once in a while, you get these players like Wembanyama and Shaq, Steph Curry, that just come in and bust up whatever the common era's rules and styles are. And you need to change both in order to stop them from dominating the field. So this is why the game continues to change, because we're always reactionary to these superhumans that come in and make us react to them. So that's what's about to happen now. Everybody's loading up on centers and stuff like that, big long players to get accustomed to what's coming with Holmgren and Wembanyama and all these dudes that are, Bol and all these dudes that we know are going to start to ascend as these big, tall humans that can have guard skills. These are things that if you don't have the ability to match up with those guys, one would think that you're going to have a hard time winning. But then again, as we learn, maybe they can run some small ball lineups and find some success some magical way. So that's really what it is, just being open-minded and fluid about what strategies may work for what rotations and how best to do this. Another thing I was listening to in regards to Jason Timm, he was saying that he believes that conditioning, basically the same thing I was saying a couple days ago, that, in regards to finding energy, conditioning is the way. Conditioning and nutrition is not necessarily more rest and less play. That's going to get you used to less play and more rest. What you need to get used to is more work, and then taking care of your body in the midst of that, more stretching. All these different things that ultimately I think provide a conditioning level that will allow you to withstand whatever's coming your way, maybe even including certain types of small injuries. So, we definitely agree there. More practice, more play is the way. The only thing that I disagreed with is that players need to play more basketball, in-game minutes basketball. And the only reason why I would disagree with that is because it's not enough minutes to go around if you're working my theory, which is everybody should play. And I think everybody should play, not because everybody can play, but because everybody playing makes everybody healthy. Throughout the course of an 82-game season plus 16 games of playoffs, if you're lucky enough to do that. In my humble opinion, you need everybody. If you're only using 9 guys and those guys on the back of the bench aren't getting any use, then chances are what you're going to end up having happen is that those 9 guys are going to get worn down, and then you're going to be leaning on those back of the bench guys without the experience of them being consistent because they ain't been playing. So you're forced to use those guys when they can't do nothing for you, as opposed to you using them, dealing with their mistakes, dealing with their idiosyncrasies, trying to work them into the equation, even if it's not to your betterment. And then from there, while you have those weak scrub-like entities on the floor, it's rest for your stars, it's rest for your main role players, and it keeps those guys who are scrubs progressing to whatever level they can get to, so that when they do find themselves filling in for injured stars who are less likely to get injured because we use them more often. But if for some reason they have to be called upon, they're more likely to be in rhythm, they're more likely to fit in, they're more likely to have confidence. And so that's my thing. If you believe that a guy is such a scrub that you can't use him in regular rotation, then he needs to be the guy you send to the G League or cut. You don't let him sit on the back of the bench, eat away at your value, and not provide anything for himself and for his team. You take him and you replace him with somebody you can use regularly. And that's where your scouts come in to make sure you find the best value in that. Go young. If you can't find a DJ Augustin or a Jay Crowder, good. That's a good thing. Now you need to go do your job and find something that can actually balloon into something for you. So these are the things I think are the solutions for all of these teams, whether you've mortgaged your future or have a million picks. At the end of the day, if you're not looking for something out of nothing and looking to use that something and develop into its best self so it can help everything else, then you're missing out on an opportunity, a huge opportunity to fix your problem and keep your players ultimately fresh all season long. So that should be the new NBA. Every single player in the 16-man roster should be utilized. Maybe not every day. But as we get better and better at utilizing 16 players, you will find more and more combinations of rotations that allow you to use those players regularly. Not everybody plays every day because it's only 48 minutes. But throughout the course of the week, you're going to see all 16 of those guys in regular rotation. And even the final guy on the bench, in my mind, is going to have a game where he played 15 minutes at least once every 4 games. At least once every 4 games. You got 82 of them, so it's not too difficult to make sure everybody plays, especially if you're rotating them properly and injuries come naturally. And as you continue to find that you can use these 16 throughout the playoffs as well, because they've always been used the same way, nothing changes in the playoffs other than the intensity, and those guys will be more likely to be more intense if they get 82 chances at playing properly as opposed to the 25 that you're going to give them if they're sitting on the back of the bench like we have in this culture here. This is how you do it. You stay healthy. You keep your stars healthy because they're not playing as much basketball from year to year to year, not just in one season. From year to year to year, they are so much more fresh in year 10 and year 11 if you do it my way. So much fresher. And you got, again, more value popping up everywhere. More culture spreading the game all over the world. This ain't nothing you ain't heard me say at least 700 times, by the way. Forgive me. Salute to those who are sick of this. But it's important because it really is a solution for everything that we're looking at. Everything. Kawhi Leonard's been hurt. Why has Kawhi Leonard been hurt? Because he was leaned on too early in his career, just like everybody else. Way too much, way too soon. Now, if everybody that he was on, every team he was on, was using the back of the bench of their players throughout the course of 82 in the way that I'm saying it, Kawhi Leonard would have had a healthier career in theory. In theory. Much healthier career because he wouldn't have been worn down as much. So I say that about every single superstar we've ever seen. And any coach that never used a 16-man lineup, which is pretty much all of them. But it can be done, especially without the spread of an 82-game schedule. I can see it in my mind's eye. It's really, really, really easy once you get used to it. You just got to have more sets, more combinations, and that should be imagined because you have more attributes within more players to provide you more options. You know what I mean? People just got to have an imagination and use that artistic mind to create ways of utilizing everybody, because at the end of the day, I don't know who said it, but it made all the sense in the world, and I've heard this well a million times. Every player in the league can play. If you get to that level, then chances are you can beat everybody in the regular levels. You go to YMCA, you're going to be the best player on the floor just from being an NBA player playing at that level. Even if you're a retired player like Joe Johnson, you're still going to give 50 to somebody like myself with ease. So, like, these are the type of things, it's like, if you know a guy's at that level and he can play at that level, then it's the job in the organization to give whatever his talent level is the best opportunity to be showcasing what it is that you have going on. And if you're looking to showcase guys for 40 minutes a game, starters and superstars who must get their 28 points, must get their 37 minutes or what have you, that culture right there is going to make it so that those guys only play about 82 games over the course of 3 years. Like, that kind of wear down is possible. And maybe I'm exaggerating, but not for some, as we all know. So that's how you keep them healthy. You got like Anthony Davis, man, he should never play more than 30 minutes a game. Never. And his backup should be constantly interchangeable. And everybody who's on the floor with him should be able to assist with what it is he does. You know what I mean? Like, these are the type of things I think should be kind of standard. You know? But with the ambiguity of the game and how it flows like water, maybe that's not necessarily what's best for the matchup itself. Who knows? But the point is, if you go into it thinking, keep everybody fresh, even if everybody on the back sucks, you're going to get the most out of those guys. If they're a 3, they're going to rise up to a 5 if you do it this way. And if you can get them to a 5, you can combine the 2 of them dudes, take a second round pick, and then get yourself a real piece. But that only works if you bring them 3s to a 5. That's the point. That's why I think player development is everything, man. Player development is everything. And the less you have, the more you need to be invested in your player development. If I don't have but $1 million to invest in my team, if I can barely get anything going for my team and I'm barely holding on, the only thing that really where my money really needs to go is in them damn scouts. Why? Because they're going to go in the second round, find you a Austin Reeves and give you a future. And find a THT or Austin Reeves or Alex Caruso. They're going to be good enough alone to keep you cohesive enough to be able to retrade them for something that'll be a little more than them. And then from there, you keep building the same way. Stack them, develop them, flip. Stack them, develop them, flip. Stack them, develop them, flip. And by the time you do this enough times, you will be a team that's good enough to have a bunch of pieces that a star can come to. And so, that's it. That's it. And the less good your team is, the more you need to be utilizing all 16 of these players. You know what I'm saying? And watch them stay healthy. Watch as you continue to rotate these dudes on they stay healthy. Yeah, there'll be some guys who say, I can't get in my rhythm. I'm only getting 3 jump shots. He'll get used to it. You know why? Because he's going to be in rotations that allow some overlap. You're going to take 4 out, leave 1 in. And you're going to do that in ways that make sense throughout the course of your week. And when you do that, everybody's going to get a chance to play. Everybody's going to have a chance to heal. Everybody's going to have a chance to rest and come back when they're fully healed, which is the biggest thing, in my opinion, in regards to these injuries and why teams keep having players going in and out, because they never let them heal. Sabonis should have been missed probably 2 games trying to heal from all that has happened with him, including that finger. Ja Morant probably shouldn't play in game 4. These are things I'm thinking about. Because if you really want players to heal, you got to let them rest. And sleep. Sleep is the best thing for healing in the world, in my opinion. So, yeah, I just want to give people a little bit of what I have. Of course, I'm also waiting for groceries to arrive, so I'm kind of killing time in that way. But, as far as these games are concerned, I think Golden State is going to find themselves with an opportunity to tie up this series. But I think they may want to continue to explore with what it is that worked for them in Game 3. 4-guard lineups, small ball stuff that I hate. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, you're probably best with those 3 on the floor at all times. And then, of course, Wiggins and Gary. That's a small ball lineup, but that's probably the best lineup they got. Probably, especially if Dre ain't playing. It's the best lineup they got. So do I do that if I'm Steve Kerr? I'm going to try it. I'm going to take my chances with those guys' shooting ability, and I'm going to take my chances with guys like Gary Payton being scrappy and trying to rebound the ball. Wiggins and his ability to be a little longer than some at his size, so he can help on the board some, and then you just get out of that quickly. If you start having real rebounding issues, you just put Looney back in the game. But these are the things I think they should continue to explore as the series progresses. As far as the Clippers are concerned, if you watch my Clipper video yesterday, I don't give a damn about them winning or losing any games in this series, because I don't look at the Phoenix Suns as a very good team. I'm one of the only people out here that don't think Phoenix is good. And I've been saying that since they put it together. And it ain't because I don't believe in those stars. I do. And I think that that's a project, and they're building something in Phoenix. And I think if they have any sense, they'll strip it all the way down to nothing but Booker and KD next season, and then fill in everything else with new players. That's what they should do. But I know they're not going to do that. They're going to keep Ayton. They're going to probably try to keep Chris Paul. Chris Paul has a lot of cachet in this league, so he probably doesn't want to move on from a situation like that. But if they got any sense, they move on from him right away, and replace him with somebody that can really, really play the point guard position going forward. And then, of course, get some draft picks. If any of those guys on the back of that bench have any trade value at all, move them. Torrey Craig, Biyombo, Shamit, Lee, all of them, move them, all of them. Why? Because they combine to make you not good enough. You need to get good enough. So that's the bottom line. They combine to make you not good enough, so you need to be good enough. Now, I think you keep Okogie because he's a heck of a rebounding player, heck of a defensive player. He's headed upwards. You need him. But some of them other dudes, they're the problem. Together, they're the problem because they make a bad bench. So that's where I'm at with Phoenix. I'm not confused. They got 4 players. That's 4 chances to get 4 people in foul trouble to win a game. That's easy. That's easy. If you're hunting them, you should be able to do that. So that's where I'm at with that, man. I'm not a Phoenix dude. And because of it, I think it's a good chance the Clippers have a chance to come back and win this series. They do. But the problem is they depleted of Kawhi Leonard. Who knows if he's going to come back. And, of course, depleted of Paul George. Don't think he's coming back in the series. So that right there leaves him in such a disadvantage that I'm just going to shoo Phoenix in automatically. But that's a throwaway series if you ask me. Even though it's been rather entertaining watching him play. Because Westbrook's balling, KD's balling, all of that's good. But those are stars, man. You need more than stars to win series. And fortunate enough for both of these teams, they just ran into the right team for their circumstance. Both of them did. You should probably go 7. And so, that's what I think of that. And Ty Lue's a hell of a coach. So he's not going to roll over just because he's undermanned. And that Clipper team is constructed to compete without their stars. That's how they had it before they got there. And if people remember, they were a bunch of pieces. And then Kawhi and PG just showed up and depleted them of all of their future. And so it's one of them situations for me where it's like, that's what I'm doing. I'm trading those dudes for a future if possible. I'm trading all them old dudes on the back of that team, the Covingtons and all them dudes, as I told you yesterday. I'm trading them, getting up out of here. And I'm bringing myself a real set of youngsters that can be on time for me when that building opens down the street from my house. So all of this is stuff you've heard yesterday, but it's relevant because we're talking about the Clippers, and I think that because they've won a game in this series, a lot of people think that they should probably just keep this thing going. Same thing they say about Miami. Miami's winning games, so clearly they should be kept together and given another try. Hell no. Throw that thing away. It ain't really built to win. Just because they play well together in a system that's meant for whoever's on the system to play well. You get more players that can play in that system, you still get the same dynamic, only better. And that's why you move on from some of these guys. Now, some of Miami's players, they're optical illusions because even though they're not consistent scorers, they're fantastic defensive players and they can get hot at the right time. A guy like Max Strus is hard to gauge because I look at him as a guy who's not a scrub, but he's a role player that I can't necessarily look at and say he's going to ball out. And in the last minute, when I think it's time to give up on him, he goes for 32, defends very well, sends his team into the playoffs. So it's just like a guy like that probably fits what you're doing going forward because he's only on like $1 million contract. And he always outplays that every year, especially in the playoffs. So Max Strus is the kind of guy I'm like, all right, I can keep him because he ain't costing me nothing and he really does help me. So that's one of the things where I've changed my mind on Max Strus. I've told people that I probably would move on from him. Now I'm like, nah, if anything, every team in the league should want a Max Strus because he don't cost nothing and he's always helpful. So that's what I look at Max Strus. He's a piece that you don't even have to worry about. Just keep him, hide him, and start getting rid of everything else. Kyle Lowry, out of here. What's his name? Robinson, try to find a way to get that out from under that contract. And, I got an idea. It ain't no good because these contracts are not helpful. But, look, man, I really genuinely believe that Tyler Hero and Jordan Poole are the same player. They come from the same place. They grew up together in Milwaukee. That's why they play so much alike, because they're the same player. They brothers, basically, in regards to their court skills. So for me, I want to put them together. I want to put them together. I would try to put them together in Miami because I know Golden State needs to move on from him. So put them together, start over that way. See what happens. Put a bunch of defensive players around them and let them shoot all over the court and see what happens. Anyway, gotta go. BDO 44. Thank y'all for watching.